What's up? What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm good, man. So, Stefan, I know that we've known each other for a really long time. Recently just ran into each other the other week, the other month. That kind of just like
Yeah.
stuck this in my head where I was like, that would be a dope conversation to have since we go way back. And like, you have a pretty unique story compared to a lot of people that I've had conversations with on here before. So, I'm going to give it to you. Let me know who Stefan is. Just give me your background and let everyone know kind of what you do and who you are.
Gotcha. Cool. Well, my name is Stefan Rivera-Clack. I'm an online personal trainer. Been doing personal training since I was 19. I'm 30 years old now. It's crazy how time flies. So I got my certification while I was in school. Um, Transferred to Ohio State after going to community college, chasing the whole athletic dream that a lot of us had. So once I was at Ohio State, it's where I met Bryce and a lot of other Ohio State at that time had a really good fitness community. So I was very fortunate to be there at that time because it kind of helped spark me to get where I'm at now. So that's when I started doing some bodybuilding shows, and it was mostly because everyone else at the gym was doing it. So I was like, all right, yeah, I can do this too. Kind of filled that void that I was missing from basketball, football in high school. After I graduated from Ohio State with my degree in exercise science, I drove across the country to Los Angeles. I've been living there the last like 5, 6 years and just moved back to the Columbus area this year. That's where I ran into Bryce again. And now we're here.
Dude, so you had never competed before OSU?
No, I did.
Okay.
It was my freshman year in college. My freshman year in college at Bowling Green State University. And I came home after one semester. My whole journey there was to play basketball. And long story short, I got cut, didn't make it. I shouldn't even say I got cut. I never even got onto the team. So I didn't make it. It didn't happen. And then when I got home, I was in a really depressed state because I was always an athlete, didn't know what else to do. And then I was kind of looking for something to do. My mom was a fitness person. She was one of the doing aerobics classes and all type of different things. And she was working at a gym. So I was like, all right, let me just try to be a trainer. I think I know I have a passion for fitness, so this could be cool. So I got my personal training certification, kind of followed the footsteps of my mom. Met a guy at the gym that was the other trainer. There was only 2 trainers. My first job was at Anytime Fitness in Dayton, Ohio. So he was competing. This is looking back at it, it's pretty unique. So he was competing in men's physique, and I had never really thought about competing before. My mom had competed before, but I was in high school. I wasn't really too invested in my mom's career. I was doing my own thing, but I knew she was competing, so I had a decent understanding of what it took to commit to that. So Dante was the trainer's name, and he was like, hey man, like, you got a good physique, you're already lean because you're a basketball player, you have a good amount of muscle, just do this show with me. You can literally just follow my same meal plan. So I took Dante's meal plan made for him. I don't know where he got it from. I followed his same meal plan, did a show. I think it was like 8 weeks prep. I ended up winning the show on Men's Physique. So that was my first experience with competing. And then from that point, my mom and Dante and people that I knew were like, yo, you got the right physique for this. Like, look, you didn't even try, you won. So maybe you should try this. So then I was like, yeah, I guess I can do this. And I ended up starting to train more like a bodybuilder, train more for aesthetics. Then I went to Ohio State, transferred to Ohio State. That's where I got more into competing. So that's how it all started.
Yeah, that's so funny. I remember the first time that I saw you ever at OSU, I walked into Jesse Owens South, and I don't remember if you were doing pull-ups or what, but you were over by like,
Probably. I always do pull-ups.
I know you were over by like one of the squat racks, and I remember I walked in, and I'm pretty sure Eric Goots was like working the front desk at the time, and I was like, bro, who the fuck is that guy over there? And he was like, I don't know, but he is jacked as fuck. And I was like, you know, whenever you like see someone new at the gym and they're like bigger than you, and you just kind of like size them up from the other side of the gym, you're like, I don't want to go too close. Like, have look,
Yeah.
you're like, I don't want this dude to show me up. So I'm gonna watch him from across the gym and just like see what's going on. But dude, I remember seeing you. I was like, holy fuck, that dude looks insane. And the first thing in my head at that moment was, A, like, who is this guy? B, he has to be a pro. Like, he has to be competing. Like, this has to be like his thing that he does. And third thing is like, I wonder what this guy takes. Like, I wonder what shit he's running right now. And for you to just be like, oh yeah, like I just jumped into a show. I wasn't even trying. Like, this is just some shit I was doing as a hobby. Like, I just started really training seriously. And then something we'll talk about a little bit, but like, you are actually natural. Like, that would have blown my brain to like pieces if someone tried to tell me that in the moment. But obviously, like over the years of knowing you, like it all makes sense now. Like you have like a genetic gift, man. Like how tall are you? Like 5'8"?
Yeah, like pretty much 5'7", 5'8", between there somewhere.
Yeah, and like for anyone who's not watching, and like even if you are watching, can't really tell. But like, how much do you weigh?
Like right now?
Yeah, well, right now, yeah.
Yeah, I'm about like 180, probably right about now.
But like absolutely lean. Like you just walk around lean as fuck all the time.
I've had my ups and downs, but right now I'm actually cutting. So I'm on my, I would say normal walk around weight is probably like 185.
Yeah. So like if anyone can't actually see what Stefan looks like, he's jacked, like just looks.
Appreciate you, bro.
Yeah. You look like a bodybuilder, right? And I remember the first time I saw you, like you looked very much like a bodybuilder. You know, you're bigger now, like you're definitely more well-developed now because you've had more years under your belt to do it. But even back then, it was just like, you see people and you're like, man, you were just like meant to be doing this shit, you know? Like,
yeah, that's what everyone told me. And that's kind of the main reason why I ended up doing the whole competing thing at that time. And especially at, like I said, the community at Ohio State, like a lot of people there were competing. So I almost felt like I had to because everyone was like, you got it. And so I was like, all right, cool.
Well, how far did you end up taking competing? Because you'd ever turn pro, did you?
I did. That's when I started.
Okay. Yeah. So you want to walk me through like that whole process too? Because when did you turn pro?
It was my senior year at Ohio State. So it was 2016 at Northern Americas. It was the first year of classic physique. So that was kind of like my little route to be able to make it because they were taking more pros that year. They were taking like the top 2 at each national show in each class. So I got second place in Northern Americas in my class in 2016. So that's how I got my pro card. But as far as like the strategy leading up to that, I actually wasn't even sure like what I wanted to do because I don't remember what year it was. It had to have been, that was 2016. That had to have been 2013, 2014, where I did a national show, the one in Miami, and I got like smoked. Like I don't know, maybe it came in like 50th or something. Like, there were so many people in the class. It was crazy. Now everyone looked good. I was just small compared at that time to have enough muscle mass. Like I still look good. I was shredded and everything, but I didn't have enough mass to win or come anywhere close to that. So I remember being in that moment thinking like, okay, like the only way I can really do this from my understanding is just to not even think about competing for a long time. And maybe I never will compete again. But I'm going to train my butt off as hard as I can to see if I can get to that point. So what I did is, and I'm sure you probably remember this, is like I got chubby at Ohio State. Like I went into calorie surplus. I was eating because I didn't really know. I wasn't as educated, of course, then. So I was definitely more naive. I was just eating everything. I was waking up eating Oreos for breakfast. But I was going to the gym. I went to the gym. It was like a goal of mine to go to the gym every single day. So I did that for like 2.5 years. So I was in a calorie surplus, bulking, going to the gym every single day, Jesse Owens South. And then I think I got up to like 227 pounds is when I got up to.
Holy shit.
Yeah, so I was big. And this was 2.5 years of bulking. I didn't compete that whole time. And I remember my mom having a conversation with me like, you're taking this too far. Like, you know, this isn't healthy. Like the whole fitness thing, you should do it for health. And I was like, no, I'm bulking. It's all good. And I actually was having, had like heart palpitations and I had some issues. So I went to the doctor's office and they were like, yeah, you just need to lose weight. So that's what kind of sparked me to be like, okay, let's just shred and see what happens. And because it had been so long, I actually had to like re-qualify for nationals and stuff. So I don't remember what show I did, but I did some show to qualify for nationals. And after I got shredded from all that, it took me like 9-10 months to get ready for the show. So I looked really good. I put on some muscle in that time. And I did the whole national circuit. I think I did. I can't remember now. I think I did. The first one I did was whichever one was in Chicago. I did that one.
Was it a regional show or a local show or was it a national?
Oh, no. I was talking about the first national show. So I don't remember what show I did to qualify. Yeah, so I did that one, and then I did I did 3. I can't remember, so long ago. So it's Chicago. I know I went to Chicago, and I placed maybe like in the top 5 or something. So I was like, okay, this means I'm close. This means I'm close. So then I just did another one, and I can't whatever North Americans came around, and I ended up getting second in that one. So it all happened pretty quickly. So like I competed maybe 3 or 4 times before I did my big bulk, and then I competed 3 times or so after that, and that was it. So that's my history with actual competing is pretty short. There's not too much. I wasn't big enough. I took a long period off to bulk up. I got my pro card naturally, which is what my goal was. And then from that point on, I was just like, I don't really know what else I can do with this, because to go further, you have to probably take some other things to make it to the next level, even if you have the great genetics and everything else to go along with it. So that's kind of where I stopped.
So you stopped because you figured that you couldn't be competitive without having to go the enhanced route?
Yes, but also because I didn't enjoy it that much. Like maybe if I would have had more passion behind it, I would have considered that. But I didn't really like it. It was just kind of something that I was good at, had the right physique for. And I did have the work ethic. Like I was very disciplined. Like when I was training and getting ready for my shows, I didn't miss any of my meals. I didn't party. I didn't do any of that stuff. So I was very committed to it, but I didn't actually like get all hyped up about competing. I couldn't see myself long-term doing it as a lifestyle. I just had too many other things that I wanted to focus in on. So it never really drove me, the actual competing part of it. It was just something like that just gave me focus and gave me something to do. And once I graduated from Ohio State, I was like, well, I want to focus on my business. I want to travel. I want to live not in Ohio, and all these different things that you might want to do with your life. Competing just consumes all of it. So I was like, let me just put that to the side. Maybe one day in the future, I'll do it again. And after not doing it, I didn't miss it. So I didn't really feel the need to try to go back to it, even though I felt like I was genetically in the right spot to take advantage of that.
No, yeah. No, I totally get that, because like for me, I obviously didn't turn pro, but like I experienced that same burnout of like doing the cyclical dieting, going to the gym basically every day, especially whenever you're doing cardio every single day as well. Like,
yeah, you just literally like an hour cardio,
yeah,
watching Netflix and everything else. Yeah, that's horrible.
And then I was working full time at a gym too. So like whenever I was competing, I was getting to the gym an hour and a half early before I had my first clients to do cardio. And then whenever I had a break in the middle of the day, I would train. I would stay, or I would just go to a different gym to work out. And then I would come back to the gym until like, 7, 8 p.m. every single day. Where like mentally, I was just so burned out by that time. And like, sometimes I think about how having a different job at that point might have actually allowed me to enjoy competing for longer than I did, rather than so quickly, because I would have been able to like separate that a bit more. But I still don't think that I would have had like that. I mean, like that fortitude to continue pushing was something that I definitely did not have the genetics for, like you did. Like you being able to turn pro naturally, and I was not able to do shit, even being enhanced. So like there's a wide genetic gap there, right? So then I shifted my focus a little bit more towards like strength and like wanting to do things there and like just, being more performative. But like for you, it's still like, it kind of blows my mind, the fact that like you turn pro so easily and then you're just like, fuck it, I'm done. Like that's dope to me. That's like that Michael Jordan moment where you just like retire. But like, do you ever feel like you're going to have that point where you want to come back and do it again? Or you feel like you don't even think about it? Like you just want to enjoy the gym. You just enjoy fitness. Yeah.
So for me with the competing aspect, I'm not going to say I would never do it again. But it's definitely not something I'm worried about. Like I'm not thinking like when I'm older and be like, oh man, I wish I would have chased that pro card, like competing in the, cause I don't watch the Olympia. I don't go to, that's not my idols have never been, Roddy Coleman or Arnold Schwarzenegger or anything. Like that's not what I really grew up on. I'm an athlete first is what I like to think. So, my growing up idols was Dwayne Wade and LeBron James and like those guys. So that's more so like the field that I see myself in is fitness in that realm. I'm still a basketball player first. I mean, I may not look like it, can't shoot like it anymore, but that's the kind of way I look at it. So I don't really have much passion to it. I think that the only way I would do it, and I've had a conversation with some of my friends about this, is if it was with friends, like for the community aspect of it, because that can be cool. Because when you go to the show, you see all these people doing it, and I don't coach athletes that compete, but I know like you coach athletes that compete, and one of our mutual friends, Dylan, and that whole community thing that you can build from that. I like that. Like, that's cool. That's dope to be a part of that. But the whole actual process of competing, I don't really see myself doing it. So if I do it, I want it to be something like I'm going to do it with a group of friends. We're going to go have this goal in mind, have some fun, see what happens. So that's the only way I can really see myself doing it.
Yeah. And competing itself is just like a super solitary sport. Like competing.
Yeah, it's just a loner sport.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
And not like it's an individual sport, but you also kind of have to like say no to every social aspect of your life to be really, really good at bodybuilding. Like, you can't go out, you can't stay up late and sacrifice your sleep, you can't go out.
Yeah. And there's all of these people that say that you can do those things, but you really can't. And like, if you're trying to take it to the top, that's what I remember from my college, is like, I think about it, and sometimes I'm a little bit sad about my college time because I was so committed to that. Like, I were at Ohio State, it's an amazing campus. I went to maybe 3 parties the whole time I was there. But at that time in my life, I was so committed to that. I can't even tell you really why. I think a lot of it had to do with what happened with basketball and football for me going into college. Like, I was so used to being an athlete, always training, always preparing, having that team community. And then when I got to college, I was just like on my own, and I didn't really know how to spend my time. And I felt like that was a purpose. Like, I needed a purpose to something to lock in with. So yeah, I didn't really make that many friends at Ohio State, except for the people like you that were at the gym.
No, I actually was going to ask you about that next, because I often have a lot of, I wouldn't say regrets necessarily, but like, I wish that I would have done things differently in college, because I feel like my focus and like my energy and my passion were directed towards something that it was great in the moment. And like, yes, like working out and eating right, quote unquote, is like healthy. But like, I wouldn't even say what we were doing was necessarily like the healthy way of fitness, like it was very much pushing to the extreme in a lot of different ways. And yeah, that's better than like drinking every night for sure. But there's still like an aspect of me that wishes that I would have taken more advantage, like what you said, of the fact that we went to like one of the best schools in the country in terms of like being able to cultivate those communities and being able to like expand your reach and meet new people and like be a part of different clubs and communities and like, make connections for the future. And like, I wish that I would have focused more on things that I guess were more important, or I deem them important now. My 20-year-old self didn't deem those things important back then. But even just like, enjoying myself a little bit more, like going out, drinking some, like partying a little bit more, letting loose, like not being so fucking uptight all the time. Like I definitely wish I could go back and do certain things like that over again. Because as much as that can be a little bit destructive if you get too out of hand with it, it's also like, it's fucking college, man. Like you're supposed to do.
Yeah, that's what it's about. Networking, having a good time. And I always like took pride in the fact that I didn't do it. At that time, I thought that was cool. It was like, nah, bro, like I'm turning 21 today. I'm going to the gym. Like, it's just crazy the mindset that you have at that time. But it got me the foundation that I need and put me in the position now. And now we can look back and understand. But 100% agree. I'm in the same boat. I'm always like, man, could have made some more friends. I could have took advantage of what Ohio State had to offer a little bit more instead of just being in the gym. And I also took my studies super serious. I was literally like gym, books, and that was it. And then IHOP when I was bulking, probably found it out all the time. That's it.
IHOP.
100%.
That's the power triad right there. No, you actually mentioned earlier in the conversation, you talked about your mom. I wanted to ask you kind of to expand on like your mom's influence on your whole like fitness journey, because I know a little bit about your mom, but I definitely don't know as much as I probably should know about her. But correct me if I'm wrong. At one point, didn't she hold like the plank world record or something like that? Or was that just like a gym myth?
No, she did. Yeah. She held the record for the longest like abdominal plank by a woman. She didn't hold it very long. I broke like it like a month later, but she did have it for a short period of time. It was 40 minutes and 8 seconds. And it was cool because they actually had like the whole camera crew and everything there. It was at the Anytime Fitness that I first was working at when I was younger. And yeah, they recorded. It was the most like cool but boring 40 minutes ever because she's just standing there like this. And she had to beat 40 minutes and she got 40 minutes and 8 seconds. So she did accomplish that. But as far as like her influence from a fitness standpoint, it's actually not as great as a lot of people think.
Yeah.
Because it is more so now, but like when I was younger. Because when I was really young, my mom wasn't even into fitness like that. So it wasn't until she had my little sister who just turned 19 like last week. So I was, I think it might have been like my freshman year of high school, somewhere around that time. She just randomly started getting like super fit. So she was an optometrist assistant. That's what her job was all my life growing up. And then when I was getting into high school, she started doing that less, like taking less hours with that. And then she started doing like group fitness. I don't really know what triggered that for her. I've never had that conversation with her, ask her like, what made you just stop doing that and then go straight into fitness? But she just has such a bubbly personality that people are naturally just drawn to her, even before she was into fitness. So when she got into fitness, and given our genetic triangle, like our genetics are crazy, I guess, because she was like a normal mom for a long time, and then she just got really fit really fast. I don't even remember the transformation. She wasn't like obese or nothing, but she was just like a mom, you know. And then all of a sudden she's teaching Zumba and doing boot camps and lifting weights. And then she ended up doing a bodybuilding competition. And she did, she was also like a firefighter, professional kickboxer. She just took everything. It was like, she just started doing anything you could do fitness. So I got to see that transformation. And I think the biggest influence was I saw how her mood shifted. I saw how she was okay doing the whole optometry thing. Like she wasn't in a bad mood or nothing, but nothing was bringing her joy. Like I saw when she started training people, started becoming a trainer, doing the group fitness. And then I saw her being like, oh, like this is what I want to do. And then she ended up quitting that optometry job. She opened up like a small gym in our hometown, and she just started training people. And that's kind of, if anything, that's what I took from it the most, is how I saw her impact people and how that made her spirit be greater, and how it just filled her with pride that she was actually helping people. And she had purpose with her job. And that's kind of where I felt like that's the biggest thing I took from it, because now I do the same type of thing as she is now with my business. And I always try to make sure that I'm putting my best foot forward to get a good result for our clients. So that's probably the biggest thing from the standpoint of like actually her like pushing me. People like, did your mom coach you? I'm like, not once. Like she never was like, let's go 5 more reps. And I'm like a 5-year-old. That was never the case. It was just seeing kind of her journey. I just knew, okay, like she's the most fit person I know to this day. Really, like it's incredible what she's capable of doing now is very impressive. And that's another reason why, kind of going back to the whole like natural enhanced thing too. That's another reason why I would never really considered doing enhanced, because I've seen what my mom has done naturally and how she's in such great condition now. And I've also seen like other people on the other end of the spectrum who've abused enhanced route, and then there's a lot of unfortunate side effects, you know. So I was just like, nah, I don't want to mess this up. Like I can see what can be done naturally for a long period of time. And I have a great example. I'm always telling my mom too, because right now she's vegetarian and she's still shredded. I'm like, where you get your protein from? Like, how you look like this? She doesn't really lift weights like that anymore. Of course, she's older. She's 53 now, but she still looks phenomenal. So yeah, it's I definitely have some good genetics from her side, and then my dad as well, which we can get into if we want.
Yeah, actually, like, yeah, go ahead. Like, does your dad train at all? Like, is he fit? Does he care about stuff?
Not from a standpoint of like lifting, but he was a Division I track athlete. So he was at University of Bowling Green. That's where he ran track. He also was Division I high recruit for football as well. So I never seen him like super shredded, because as he got older, he didn't keep the like physique that well. I mean, he still does. He's not like overweight or anything, but not like my mom. So I definitely have the genetics from both sides. My dad being a Division I athlete, my mom probably could have been a Division I athlete because my mom my grandpa's from Puerto Rico. So that is one thing that kind of impacted her ability to do sports or fitness at a young age, is because it's a cultural difference. My grandpa was like, nah, you're not playing sports. Like, that's not what women do. So she never even got to experience that until she was older in life, and it ended up being great for her at that point.
How old was your mom whenever she actually started getting into fitness?
So she would have had to have been like early to mid 30s.
Damn. Yeah. That is a pretty late start.
Yeah.
No, that's crazy.
Because my sister is 19, so it's 19 years ago. So she's 53. So yeah, it would have been about that.
No, and that's something that like I think is an important lesson too, because there is this feeling of like always being behind. You know, like I have a lot of people that will come into me, have conversations with me, apply to work with us, and like there is this feeling of like it's too late for me to get started with this. You know,
That happens, yeah.
Yeah, and I maybe it's just because it's less and less taboo to get started with fitness and high level exercise and athletics at like younger and younger ages, where I mean shit, you'll see like ripped 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds now,
I know, it's crazy.
Yeah, like shit, if I have a kid, they're going in gymnastics immediately. But I think that can kind of be a little bit demoralizing for some people, because if you're 30, 35 years old and you've had 30 or 35 years of bad habits under your belt, where you maybe haven't learned much about fitness or like the right way to eat or the right way to train or like how to take care of your body. And maybe you have some of these like nagging injuries or aches or joint pains and, health issues that are already starting to accumulate. It feels kind of like you can't get started, right? It's like, that's an overwhelming idea to think about. But, you even just said like your mom, she was just normal. Like she didn't really think about that shit. And
she had 3 kids too.
Yeah, granted, like she obviously has, pretty elite genetics from what we can see now. But like, I don't think that her genetics were responsible for her finding that like motivation or that spark to actually get started.
100%.
Yeah, you don't know that you have those genetics until you actually start seeing the like what's under the hood, And I guess maybe we can think about whether there is a genetic component to like motivation or like being attracted to things like fitness and exercise. And, that might be an argument in itself. But no, that is actually a little bit different than like the story I had in my head of like your mom's fitness journey. Like I was expecting that she was that mom who was like 5 more reps. Like,
yeah,
a lot of like, people think that, yeah, like do 100 sit-ups before you go to bed whenever you're 10 years old and shit like that. Like in my head,
my mom had me dressed up like Carlton. So no.
No, man, that was the vision I had of your mom in my head. But that definitely paints a much clearer yet different picture of your upbringing and like how you were able to kind of find your passion, like your route as well. Because I'll be honest, like I know you, but like I didn't really know how you got to this point. I never really understood like, what made you want to make that decision and like stick with being natural over the years. Because like for me, it was a very easy decision for me to say, I'm just going to see what this path leads to with like, using PEDs. Like that was something I probably should have put more thought into at the time. Definitely. I wish that I would have taken a little bit more time to do some more research and like figure out how the fuck to do these things right. But it wasn't something that like I really had this like moral or ethical dilemma about, to where like I needed to pause that decision, Yeah. And there are a lot of people that are like me where they're just like, fuck it, I don't care. Like I'm just no big deal, right? But for you, like you resisted that like temptation. And I'm sure there was like a lot of people who were like, hey bro, like, can you imagine what you would look like if you also took this,
Yeah, that's where, when I earned my pro card, that's where like I had a lot of different, since I'm not even in the industry, like not in the bodybuilding space, I couldn't even tell you who these people were if I knew. But there was people that came up to me and they were different coaches. Someone was like, oh, that's so-and-so's coach, this so-and-so's coach. They knew that I was natural, because my mom, like, actually, she knew some people in the bodybuilding community. So like a lot of people knew that were, I don't know, judges or whatever, people in the space knew my mom and knew like she was natural and knew I was natural. And they actually, there's coaches coming up to me like, yo, like, I want to bring you on. We can go next level. We can start to do this. Like, you look just like Phil Heath before he started using. You look just like Kai Green before he started using. And I was just like, I don't care about Phil. Eat their concrete, man. Like I'm good. So I definitely got that from a lot of people in the space. It's like, you look good, bro. You can take it next level. If you start using, I can show you the way. But yeah, just never had the passion in the sport for it.
Was there like an underlying reason why you never considered actually going the enhanced route, other than just like not really having that drive to pursue bodybuilding specifically that far? Because dude, it's a fucking temptation, especially if you're someone who was always at the gym, thinking about exercise and training and fitness all the time. And for you, even like you built your business a lot off, I don't say a lot off of how you look, but like it doesn't hurt.
Oh yeah, of course.
You know what I mean? Like,
billboard.
Yeah, your body, exactly. It's a walking advertisement, man. But like, it's really easy to like make justifications in your head for like why you would quote unquote need to like go that route. But for you, like you've been pretty steadfast your entire life about like, no, I'm just not going to do that. Like, I don't want to do that. I'm going to be natural. Like, is there an underlying reason why you've decided to stay natty, other than just like not having that desire to take it the bodybuilding route?
Yeah, I think my mom definitely had an impact on that. She was like super against that. And I never showed interest. So it's not like she was like, don't do it. But I could just tell like her stance on that. She was like, no, like this isn't the way to go about it. Like fitness is about health, so that can become unhealthy very quickly if you do it the wrong way. So her influence and me and my mom are very tight. So like, I wouldn't say like if I did it, she would have been upset. Yes. But I mean, it would have been fine. But she always kind of was like, yeah, nah, you can stay natural, it's fine. But I never really showed interest. So it was all good. So I think that impact my mom just kind of seeing, like I already said, like seeing her process natural. I was like, yeah, I just want to be like my mom. Like she was my number one role model in bodybuilding. I didn't care about the other guys. Like this, me and my mom are cool. This is dope. Like I don't need to be bigger than this. And I never really thought that the big bodybuilder guys were an aesthetic that I was drawn to. Like I never thought like, oh wow, he must be amazing to be that big. Like I was like, I feel pretty big right here. So like I'm good. So yeah, I never was drawn to it. I can't even, that's really it. There really isn't any. I think one thing that actually happened that was right around the timing of if I would have decided to go that route, that might have been like my most vulnerable time when I first got my pro card. This was super random. My dad lives in Dallas, Texas, and this is whatever. I just won my pro card, so 2016 or something. And he calls me and he's like, hey, I know you're into all this bodybuilding stuff. My friend knows Ronnie Coleman. Like, when you come down, you want to work out with him or you want to meet him? I was like, yeah, that's cool. I'll meet Ronnie Coleman. So I go to Dallas, whatever, a couple months later or something. And I'm with my dad's friend who is Ronnie Coleman's workout partner. Super random. We pick up Ronnie Coleman from the airport and he's coming out in a wheelchair. He's coming out in a wheelchair. He just looks broken. You know what I'm saying? Like he got in the car, he still had that, yeah, buddy personality, everything. Like he was really nice, but kind of like meeting him, that was another reason where I was just like, at that point, I don't know. I don't know if it's steroids. He also did a crazy heavy lifting and stuff. So there's a lot of reasons why, he has the issues that he has now with his body. But kind of meeting him and going through that, I was like, man, do I really want to do, because he wouldn't even think he was just turning like 50 at that time. I was like, do I want that type of experience when I'm 50 years old? No. So that maybe had a slight impact too, because it was like right around that time when I was like, oh, should I keep competing? Should I try to do this naturally? Like, I never really thought about going the enhanced route, but I did think about continuing competing naturally just to see what I could do. See if maybe I could compete naturally to some extent. I don't know, not to Olympia, but who knows? So that was an interesting time too, where I met him and I was like, yeah, nah, it's not worth it.
Well, with the Ronnie case specifically, like the way that he is right now, I think that you could probably say it's a little bit more due to like his training style and like,
yeah, I would agree to that too. Like, but in that time period, wasn't even sure. Like, I don't really follow how he trained, but after knowing a little bit more, I do agree with that.
Well, I don't think that negates the point either way, though. Like, the point that you're making is more so about like going the PED route being inherently a little bit less sustainable than staying natural, which I would 100% agree with, you know. Not even just the fact of if you decide to take PEDs, there's a high chance that you're probably going to be in some capacity dependent on them forever, you know. Whether that's you just having like this psychological addiction to them where like you start feeling like Superman and like you can't accept the fact that you have to go back to this, you know, like Clark Kent type of figure, you know, like a lot of people get that body dysmorphic type of effect from steroids where they just can't stop because they don't shrivel up and get smaller and all these things. But then also like the hormonal aspect, right? Where like you start introducing exogenous hormones like testosterone and, you know, some of the more harsher drugs as well, like you're going to start shutting down your natural systems. And then you actually make yourself basically be dependent on those drugs and have to forever. So like there isn't a level of unsustainability to PEDs that just with being natural, like you just don't have to worry about that shit, right? Like the less things that you introduce, the less variables that you have to account for whenever you start to age. And it just makes life a lot easier, you know? Just the same, it's probably a shitty analogy, but like at the same time as someone who is like taking pre-workout and, you know, adding creatine to everything and has like a multivitamin for everything and has like, you know, protein powder, all these different supplements, like as soon as they stop taking those supplements, what's going to happen? Nothing's going to happen. But psychologically, they're like addicted to their supplements, you know?
Yeah.
You know, and like that's, again, it's probably a shitty analogy, but it's the same thing. It's like the more variables, the more things that you start to introduce, even if they are making you healthier and making you more performative and, you know, making you bigger, like that's just one more thing that like psychologically or even like physiologically, like you're starting to become more dependent on. And the more natural you can be, like the less dependencies you can have. In my mind, that is better, you know, because for as much as fitness can be a little bit destructive if taken to the extremes with like bodybuilding and strength sports and stuff like that, at its core, it's supposed to be healthy, you know, like
that's what it's here for.
Yeah. And I think that's something I'm starting to really learn now, you know, like after years of abusing my body in different ways, I'm finally getting to the point where I'm like, Jesus, man, like I just want to feel good. Like,
yeah, you got to think about that longevity component, and that's a real thing. You know, I've never had to worry about the whole hand stuff, but like for me, one thing I struggle with so much is playing basketball because that's where my passion is. And every time I go play now, I'm like, I gotta stop or slow down because my knees feel absolutely horrible. And it's just like, okay, so I actually had to take a step back and think about more of like, okay, what can I train for longevity, still look the way I want to look? And it definitely changes the way that you train.
One thing that was really apparent to me, especially whenever I was at my biggest and strongest, and this would have been like 2019, it was more so like every single time I trained, I became more and more consciously aware that like at any given moment, I could like be fucked. I could like destroy my body, right? Like, because I was at that point like deadlifting, you know, close to 800 pounds, and like,
oh wow,
yeah, I mean, like I was benching, you know, 500 pounds, and like it, like I was a pretty strong dude back then, but every single time I would go to the gym, there would be like this intrusive thought, like, bro, like what happens if you tear your pec? What happens if like you slip your discs? Like what happens if this or that? And in 2020, I actually tore my adductor. And that was like a moment of clarity for me. It's like, why am I doing this? You know, like why am I training so hard? Why am I like going so heavy? Why am I abusing my body? Why am I in so much pain? Like where's that getting me? Like, I don't want to be 40 years old. I don't want to be Ronnie Coleman having to like wheel myself around for the next 50% of my life. I want to be able to enjoy the last, you know, 5 decades that I'm alive. But there are a lot of people, man, that like destroy their bodies in their 20s and 30s. And
it's crazy.
Well, they just spend the rest of their life like in pain every single day. And like, you know, had to have all these surgeries, get addicted to painkillers. And like, I just did not want that outcome for myself. And I think that was like a bit of maturity. And I needed to like have that wake up call of having a pretty severe injury to like snap me out of that and see like the realities of the situation that I had put myself in at that point. But for me, like the PEDs thing, like I'm on TRT now, you know, like there's probably never going to be a time where I'm able to come off of TRT. You know, we'll see if at some point, like I try and have kids, like maybe that might be a moment where we try and like come off and like, you know, get the boys working again. But up until then, you know, like this is something that I basically like made that commitment and like kind of accepted, like to be at like a normal physiological hormonal level, I'm probably just going to have to take TRT forever. A part of me is like, whatever, it's not a big deal. But the other part of me is like, damn, that fucking sucks. Like, what about if we want to just like travel across the world? Like now I have to think about like, oh shit, like I have to pack my testosterone as well. Like, it's just one more thing that's annoying to have to think about. But for you, like, obviously that was a decision that you made pretty early on. And I think that you were a little bit more mature in like your decision making, which is congrats to you. Like, I wish that I would have said that. But dude, I'll be honest too, like being, for as much as like having the genetics that you have and being able to be natural and being able to look the way that you look, it's a blessing, obviously, but like, it can also come with some pretty shitty things. And one of the shitty things is the fact that like everybody thinks that you're lying all the fucking time about being natural. Like, I have a lot of clients that I've worked with over the years, I still work with, that I know are natural. They're just like genetically freaks, you know, like they're just that like 1 in a million type of specimen where they're able to do things that most other people can't. And they look the way that most other people will never look, even with supplements and with enhancement. And there are a lot of people that are going to look at you and be like, there's no fucking way that guy's natural. There's absolutely no way. So like, what do you say whenever people accuse you of lying or being on PEDs?
Yeah, I think when I was younger, I would be more defensive about it because first off, it was like more like fresh. Like now I'm just used to it. But I couldn't really say, like, I can't prove it. They can't prove it either, but I can't prove it either. It's not like I've never done any type of blood test, or I did a couple natural shows, so I did have to do like the whole like pee in a cup or lie detector test, whatever. But besides that, like I've never even tested my blood levels for anything. So it's not like I can be like, here, look at this. And I'm sure if I presented that, someone would still be like, oh, you know, that was at a certain time or whatever. So I just say, hey, I'm natural. That's what I tell them. And I'm not trying to argue at this point. It's just like, it is what it is. I'll explain my story if they really start asking questions. If they're more coming at it at an approach of like, they ask me instead of accusing, then I'm more open to kind of telling them my story about my history than being like, yo, I'm 30 years old now. I've been training since I was 14 years old. So long time, and I got my personal trainer certification when I was 19, so I understood how to train at a young age. Went to Ohio State with my degree in exercise science, started learning the nutritional component there, and then my mom has been a staple of like natural bodybuilding. She doesn't really bodybuild, that's why I like this. Like she just looks good, but she looks like a bodybuilder. So she's been a huge influence too. So I kind of just explained that story, and some people believe me, some people don't. If they don't, you know, I can't do nothing about that, and that's okay.
I mean, obviously that's like the healthy mindset to have, you know?
Yeah, it's because you can get caught up with it so easily because like, it just doesn't make sense. Like if you tell them and they don't want to believe it, I'm not trying to change their mind.
There are also a lot of people, especially online, that go on like crusades to almost like gotcha these people that are claiming natural, but there's so many people on like forums and just these like different online communities that are set up to like expose these like fakers, right? Like these cheats, people that claim natty that are actually enhanced. And like the thing is that there are so many people in the fitness world that are clearly enhanced but claim natural. So like
that's the problem. That's where it hurts. Yeah, you know, the real natural guys, because then it's like everyone just assumes you're lying. You can be, if you have muscle mass in your league, people are just going to think you're on steroids now because of all the fake natties that have been accused and busted.
One thing that I would encourage a lot of people to pay more attention to whenever they're looking or before accusing someone of being enhanced versus natural is pay attention to like the genetic shape of someone, right? Like PEDs are not going to change someone's muscle insertions. They're not going to change the size of their skeleton. They're not going to change the dimensions of their muscles as compared to like, you know, their joints. So someone like early Phil Heath, you made that comparison a little bit ago. you can look at Phil Heath whenever he was playing basketball. He's at University of Denver, right? Something like that.
I know he hooped out of nowhere.
Yeah, I think it was like University of Denver or somewhere in Colorado. But you can look at pictures of him being on the court, and you're like, holy shit! Like the dude's insertions are crazy. Like you look at his arms; they just look like they're just popping out of his jersey. You can tell that the dude, like if he just started training seriously, he would look like a freak. You know, like it was destined to happen. There are other people where like you look at childhood pictures of them whenever they're 15, 16 years old and they're playing sports, and like they just look like string beans, you know, like they're just super thin, or like maybe they're even like a little bit skinny fat. They don't have like the natural genetic component to just be an absolute freak of nature as soon as they look at a barbell, you know?
Right.
And there is like a certain defining characteristic of like an enhanced physique, and it's kind of hard to explain, but like it just looks a little bit like dry and like vascular, you know?
I like to say like, well, I don't know. Like I try not to just look at people and be like, oh, he's naturally. Yeah, try not to do that. But I know the look you're talking about. And I always say it looks like they just constantly have a pump.
Well, it's like a jigskin look, is what it is. Like
a what?
Like
jigskin.
It's like the real thin, papery skin. But you can kind of tell at a certain point too, where like people just have a look to them where it starts to look a little bit unnatural, right? And if it starts to look a little bit unnatural, borderline unhealthy, it's like, all right, that's where you're starting to get to the point where it's a little bit hard to continue to make those natural claims if you actually look unhealthy, you know? Because if someone is truly natural, they're going to look relatively healthy whenever they're just, you know, lean and walking around, and like they're not going to have like this horrendous like back knee and shoulder acne, and like their face isn't going to be all leathery looking. Their skin isn't going to be like purple. You know, it's like, you just kind of have this look to a natural versus unnatural physique. And it's not going to be always perfect to make these like subjective opinions. And I'm not going to like, you know, go on any online forums and start like, you know, throwing accusations around or anything like that, because that's not what I do. But I've been doing this long enough where I can have a conversation with someone and relatively early on know if like they're bullshitting me or know if they're telling the truth whenever it comes to like being natural, right? And again, like I have certain clients that I've been working with for years. I know that they're natural beyond a shadow of a doubt. But like if you were to look at them without any experience or knowledge of them, it would be very hard to believe that.
Yeah.
Especially women. Like I think women, it's even more apparent because it's just so taboo even now to see like a very muscular, lean woman walking around. So whenever you see that, you automatically think like there's something unnatural about that. They're like, that has to be enhanced. But dude, I'm telling you, man, like I've seen some women that could give most men a run for their money in terms of like muscularity and leanness. And like, I believe them when they say they're natural. Right. So like, I think that most people severely underestimate what is possible naturally. I don't know if you,
and it's just getting worse now. And yeah. I think it's because of the people that have been rightfully accused, you know, like the Liver King, like on my YouTube shorts, I have like this YouTube short video from, this was last year. I was in Tulum, Mexico, and I had treated that trip like a bodybuilding show. Like me and my roommate, we're visiting our friend that lives in Tulum. So we did like an 8-week cut for it. I got down to probably like 174-ish, pretty shredded. I probably could have hopped on stage in like 2 weeks from that. And I had this video at the Tulum Jungle Gym. You've been there?
Yeah. Well, I've never been there, but I've seen it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it looks crazy, right? Obviously, look like the weights are all inflated with big wooden weights. So I'm doing it's just like a 5-second clip or something. I'm just doing chest press. I like do a little flex before I do the chest press. That video has, I think, 25 million views on YouTube Shorts. And I kid you not, like 75% of the comments are just, yo, this dude was on steroids. It's either fake weights or steroids.
Yeah.
And the weights are real and I'm natural. So like, I'm just like, this is crazy. But it just, because at that time, I definitely looked like I was leaner than I am now. So I got shredded for it. So I can understand. I'm not going to be like, I'm not mad that people are accusing it, but it's just crazy how many of the comments are just saying, without a doubt, like 100% without a doubt, this type of physique could never be natural. Like people just like really digging in, like saying that it's completely impossible. And it's It's not true. Like, obviously I'm natural and there's other people with better physiques than me that are natural. So yeah, I think that in general, most of the time now, people they just don't believe that they're underestimating the natural capabilities of a lot of people.
Why do you think people care so much about if someone else is natural?
I think what my understanding is, what I feel like is people care if someone's lying about it. And that's valid. You know, I feel that because people always say like, oh, people, when they really try to come at me, they'll be like, oh, you don't want to lose your sponsorships, or you're selling these products. And I'm like, first off, I'm natural. I'm good. And then like, really, like, my sponsors don't care if I was on PEDs, like, you know, just with the protein sponsors, and like, they're cool. But yeah, I think that's the biggest thing, is that people, if you're lying about it, that makes sense why someone would be upset about it. But other than that, I think it's just a lot of times people want to feel better about themselves. So they just say like, oh yeah, I don't take steroids, I'll never be able to look like this dude, or get in the best shape of my life, because they're just saying, oh, that's steroid, it's nothing that he did. And they don't have, especially in YouTube Shorts, because they don't have any understanding of who I am. I don't get accused as much on Instagram because people know me, they see me more. They've been following me for many years, so I don't get accused that much on Instagram. The YouTube thing is like more just random people. So they could just be assuming that I just started training last week and I look like that. So I think that that's part of the problem as well, is that people don't take the time to look at the individual and see their history.
Bro, YouTube is devastating. Those comments,
it's horrible.
Comments are so fucking toxic, man. Like, every once in a while, we'll get like a comment storm on YouTube on like one of our posts or like one of our videos. It always feels like it's just like a coordinated bot attack, because it will always end up being like on one specific video. You know, whether that one like trips some algorithm and like everyone sees it or what. But like, bro, it'll be like a video of us demoing like a biceps curl or something, and we'll have like 50 people in there talking about like, that's not how you do a biceps curl, like you're doing that.
Oh man, yeah.
How can you do a biceps curl wrong? Like,
YouTube Shorts,
bro,
it's horrible.
It's crazy. But no, I would actually agree with you, man. Like, I think a lot of it stems from this like internal justification that a lot of people need for their inabilities, right? So it's just really easy to look outward and assume that everyone else is doing something that is like immoral or unethical, or they're cheating, and that it's explaining like why they're further ahead than you are, or not you specifically, but like, you know, someone else, why those people are further ahead than you feel like you should be, you know? And it's not exclusive to like bodybuilding or like the fitness world either. Like, you can see this in even business, where like, let's say for example, I'm looking at someone who might be like further along in business, or like, you know, have a bigger company, or be making more money and more successful. And it would be really easy for me to look at that person and be like, man, like, they're doing something that's like illegal or unethical or immoral, or they're like scamming people, or they're doing this or that. And I can like tell myself that narrative forever and just like really convince myself that that's true. But it's so much easier to accuse people of that shit rather than just accepting the truth. It's like, shit, maybe they're just smarter than me. Like, maybe they just work harder than I do. Maybe they've been doing this for longer. Like, maybe they know the right people. Maybe they do have some advantages that have been presented to them that I just didn't have. And like, maybe that's a little bit unfair, but like, it doesn't mean that they're doing something that's unfair, right?
Right.
And I think for the same thing, like with bodybuilding and like PEDs and like genetic component, like, dude, it's not fair that some people get, you know, top 0.001% genetics. It's not fair that some people will have to work their entire life just to have an average physique. And they might be doing everything better than you are, or I am. They might be working harder and eating better, being more diligent and like being more focused and like doing all the right things, but they'll never look the way that you or I do. And like, that's not fair. That's for sure not fair, you know? Like, that sucks. But at the same time, like, that doesn't mean that like you're doing something that's unethical, or like I'm cheating. Like, I'm not fucking cheating by taking PEDs. I'm not, like, no one's telling me that I can't do that. You know, I'm not competing in a sport that is natural and then I'm like cheating that sport. I'm not doing shit that's unethical.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and I'm not claiming to be natural either. So like, that's one of those things where it's like people will will say stuff to me every once in a while. It definitely isn't common, but like every once in a while, people will like say something that's like a little bit more meant to be like demeaning in terms of like PED use and like being enhanced. And I'm like, why does it even fucking matter what I do with my body? You know, like I view me taking PEDs very similar to like how someone else might take Adderall or someone else might drink. You know, it's like my body, I can do whatever I want to. I'm not competing in a sport or doing something where PEDs are prohibited, because then getting into like that is cheating, because that's giving yourself an unfair advantage over other people that might be doing things different. But that's always something that like, it's hard for me to wrap my head around, other people being so focused on everyone else around them rather than just like being like, what can I do better to improve my own situation? And maybe that's like a privileged statement for me to say that, but it's still hard for me to put myself in the position of like an internet troll. Like I can't
yeah, right.
I can't assume their shoes, you know, like I can't put myself inside their head and be like, oh yeah, like I totally get where you're coming from. Spending 8 hours a day commenting on random people's YouTube videos, like telling them that they're lying about being natural. Like I can never imagine that being me or my life. Like I'll never understand that mindset. But I think it comes down to a lot of like insecurity, like just real deep insecurity that a lot of people have, to where it's just easier to justify their own like self-esteem, self-worth issues by convincing themselves that everyone else is doing something that's unfair, you know?
Yeah, 100%. No, I agree with that. And then doesn't help when you have people that are lying about it, that it's pretty obvious that they are on it. I think that really hurts as well. Because if the Liver King situation, that was really annoying, because as soon as that happened, all the comments on the post I was talking about switched to the next Liver King, the next Liver King, the next Liver King. I'm like, oh my gosh, bro. But I can't even look at the comments on that post anymore, because it's just it's insane. It's crazy. So I don't even look at that post anymore. I'll check it out like, oh, I went up another 1 million views. It's crazy.
Well, dude, just in general, social media can be extremely toxic. Like I know that you have a relatively large following, like you've been able to like build your business off of that following to a certain extent. But dude, I'll be honest, like social media for me is exhausting. Like there are days like I don't have anywhere near as many followers as you do, and I don't have anywhere near as much responsibility in terms of social media as you do. But like there are a lot of days whenever I'll like open Instagram and be like, I don't have the energy or patience to post or post a story or respond to this DM. I'm just like, I can't be doing this right now. Like my bandwidth is just so low. Like again, you know, like you've been able to leverage that into, you know, a relatively healthy business. But is there ever a moment where you're like, fuck man, like I just sometimes wish I could go back to like, you know, 1,000 followers or 2,000 followers, or just like refine that down to like just my closest friends and not have to worry about like all these other people that have grown to be my followers over the years?
Oh, 100%. Because I'm not really a social media person. Like naturally, like if I wasn't doing this business, I wouldn't be on social media. I would still be on it. I'm not gonna say that. But like from a consumer standpoint, like with my social media, what I'm looking at is literally sports clips and probably like I don't know if you can see my dog back here, and like dog and cat videos. It's crazy, right? Like so I'll catch myself looking at that stuff and I'm like, okay, so but from the business standpoint, it's a must for our business. Like I have to be on there. I have sponsors and I have obligations on there, and I have all the followers and everything, and it's been amazing. I'm not saying that it's not good, but it definitely does. I treat it like a job. It's not something that I'm just like, oh yeah, like I can't wait to post this next Instagram post. That's not how I feel about it. It's turning into something that is just part of the business, and that's how I treat it. And so yeah, there's definitely times where I wish it wasn't something I had to do all the time, but at the same time, I feel very blessed and fortunate because I know so many people are trying to get to the point where they can have a following like I have, and they can have sponsors, and it's awesome because you don't have to be anywhere in a physical space with the type of work that I do. So I can be anywhere in the world, and it actually allows you to be anywhere in the world because the more places you go, the more things that your followers see you do, the more you motivate them, the more you inspire them, the more you can help them learn. So yeah, it's definitely good, but there's aspects of it, and there's times where I wish I could just kind of be like, I don't want to post this week. Let me just chill out. But then at the same time, I know if I do that, there's a high likelihood that I missed out on some potential growth for our business.
How much are you starting to like push into the business side of things these days? Like, is that really consuming a lot of your time and mental energy?
Yeah, that's pretty much all I'm focused on. And there was kind of a shift as far as like what I was focusing on with business. I would say probably about a year and a half ago, I was at first when I started to get the large following, I was really focused on trying to get like more sponsors because you learn really quickly that you can make a lot of money like pretty easy. So for example, like you can get paid pretty good for one single post from a brand, a collab post. So once I learned that, because to kind of help me learn that process, I actually signed with the influencer agency in 2021, I believe that was. And that's when my eyes were open. I was like, wow, you can really like make a living just off of this. I wasn't even thinking about the actual training business and fitness. My mindset completely shifted to just being an influencer, of course, still in the fitness space. But then it kind of hit me when I had a partnership with a brand. I'm not going to name any names, but I had a partnership with a brand that fell through, and I was making a good amount monthly just from them. And it fell through like within 3 months from signing the contract for a year. And that kind of was a wake up, letting you know, like you could think you got yourself locked into this. It's a year contract. You're feeling good. All it took was someone got fired in the business, changed something, and then I'm gone. And then I was just another athlete to them, whatever. So when that happened, I was like, I was devastated at the time because I worked so hard to get like my first big contract where I'm getting paid monthly for posting and everything. And that's when I realized, nah, I got to focus on me and my business. Like that's something that I can always fall back on. These other brands, you know, anything could happen. So that's when I really started to focus in. My girlfriend and I started our Intention Athletics, our training business online. And then that's been our biggest focus. That's where most of my kind of mental energy is going to. And then, of course, you know, I still accept brand deals if it aligns with what I'm doing and showing on my socials. But really now the focus is just the training business. That's the number one priority.
No, I am definitely ignorant to the influencer side of things and like the brand deals and like the partnerships and you know, maybe it's just a product of me not having that big of a following comparatively, you know?
I mean, yeah, I didn't know either, you know, like
yeah.
If I didn't have the whole, the experience with the, I don't even, I guess it's just an influencer agency out. They're like a influencer / model agency. If I didn't have that experience, I would never have known because before that, I had just started to kind of catch some traction, get some following, and I would be taking, you know, like $80 for a post when then I got with the agency and like $80, you could be getting $1,000 for that type of post. I was like, oh, really? So just going through that experience just helped me out so much.
That's absolutely wild. But then you also think about too, like this immediately makes me think about how many people I know that have not even just tens of thousands, but like hundreds of thousands of followers. And like, I think for the layperson, they don't assume that that's like a route to monetization that directly. But like I'm not gonna lie, dude, like that's kind of blowing my mind, the fact that like you can make that much money just for like these sponsored posts, you know, because I would imagine like $50, $100, like, you know, in my mind that makes a little bit of sense, but like $1,000, like multiple thousands of dollars for like a partnership post, like that's a lot of fucking, that's, you can make a living, like you said, like you don't have to work. That's pretty wild. Dude, that's great.
Yeah, so I think like the first one that when I went with the agency, the first one I got was like $2,000 for one post.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? Like I can do this? And that was just literally just one post, and I had to post like that and on my story with the website, the link. Click the link. It was some CBD brand. So it's just like crazy, right?
Do you feel like there's ever like an internal struggle with like, man, like I really want this money, like I really want to be able to like be this like influencer that can live off of my earnings doing this, because obviously you spent a lot of time building up your following and your brand, your own personal brand. Was there ever like this internal conflict of like, I also don't really want to like quote unquote sell out, and like I don't want to like post about anything or like partner with anything that like I don't truly believe in, or I don't want to like tie myself to a company that maybe has some other shit that like I'm not seeing going on behind the scenes. Like that would be my concern is, what if I accept a partnership deal with like this company and then, like a few weeks or a few months later, shit, even like a few years later, like all of this like horrific shit comes out about that company. And like now your name and your personal brand are tied to that. And like, I don't know if this is something that I'm sure it is something you've thought about, like you did think about, but like, was there ever that internal struggle for you?
Yeah, 100%. I think when it first started happening, before I got with the influencer agency, I was like way more open to taking kind of like something like, not that it was a bad product or a gimmick or something, but something like, I'm like, am I really going to use this? Or like, do I really believe in this? I don't know, but shoot, they give me $100. So cool, I'll post it. That was a little bit early on, but then once you start to realize you have to like, okay, I got to stay true to myself. You don't want your followers to be like, yo, this guy's just a fake. He just taking on whatever. So yeah, really quickly, I kind of learned, okay, I only want to associate with brands that I believe in, and like products that I would actually use or think are beneficial for myself and my audience. So that's why you don't really see me like talking too much about different things. And that shift was so much easier when I made the decision to focus on the training business more as my number one priority. Cause then it's like, I'm only going to do stuff that makes sense for myself, our business and my clients. Like that's it. If I don't use it, I'm not going to talk about it. But if it's a good message and I believe in it, I'll consider it even if I don't use it, but I want to try it first. Like I want to make sure that it's legit before I start telling people to go buy it or whatever. So yeah, there's a lot of that at the beginning. It was a little bit overwhelming when I started to have my following grow, because there was a lot of just super random stuff coming out of nowhere. It'd be like some like Amazon product and it looked like it was going to break in 1 week, but I was like, they said they're going to give me 100. Like, should I do it? But yeah, you just kind of, just like anything else, you want to be true. So you kind of, once you start to see it more, you understand, okay, this is something that doesn't really seem that legit. Let me stay away from that and let me focus on what my business is, and the other stuff will just come when it comes.
No. And I think that's a good segue. Like, what are your goals for the business? Like, where do you see yourself taking the business, the training, the fitness side of things, working with the clients? Like, do you have a bigger picture goal, or is this something that you're just trying to figure out as you go?
I would say the latter, trying to figure out as we go, because right now it's just my girlfriend and I. We actually we had a conversation. I had a conversation with you 2 weeks ago, and kind of just talking about bringing other people into the business. So we did have we have another assistant coach that kind of doing like a little, I guess, trial period, see how it goes, seeing how it is working with someone outside of just my girlfriend and I. But I think for the most part, we're just kind of going with the flow. Right now, it is our number one source of income, and we enjoy doing it because I think that being a trainer can be very rewarding, and we believe in our products, so we believe we do a good job with our clients. Our clients see good results, so it's rewarding. But they're really, can't see an end goal in sight right now. Like people are like, oh, do you want to have your own gym or something? I'm like, that would be cool, but like that's not an end goal. I really just try to figure out what route can we take with this business to continue to help people and continue to grow, and allow like more freedom for myself and my girlfriend, so we can do the ultimate goal for me, which is travel. Because I like, that's one of the things that I didn't really get to do when I was younger. Done it a little bit the last couple of years, and that's something that I believe is just priceless. Like when you can change your perspective when you travel is amazing. Spent some time in China coaching there. Been to Mexico multiple times the past year, and just being in different countries, really, I feel like that's something that always helps me grow. So I love to do that more, and having an online business allows you to do that. So as long as we can continue to grow, and I think that we will be traveling all around, and hopefully we can have clients in all parts of the world.
I mean, that resonates a lot with me. I view things very similar to how you stated them there. Like I'm super business oriented and I'm super driven, but at the same time, like I understand that it's almost all a means to an end. Like I want freedom. Like that's what I want.
Freedom. That's the thing.
I want to be able to do things whenever I want to do them and not have to worry about other shit. Like I don't want to have to ask time off from work. I don't want to have to worry about finances. I don't want to have to, have these back of the mind anxieties just to be able to do things that I want to do, whether that's travel or whether that's go to a music festival or whether that's, like have a date night or like go buy this thing that like I really want to purchase. I just want that freedom. And honestly, dude, like we're in a great position with what we do and like what we're capable of doing in the fitness world. Like anyone who starts to get traction as a coach with like a training company or just in general with like a coaching business, like, you know, immediately like, hey, shit, like if I continue with this, like I'm going to be able to get to that like point of freedom, you know? It's not easy though. It's like definitely not easy. And I think that a lot of people go through a period at the beginning where there's like this illusion of it being easy because the beginning is easy, like because you're motivated and like you haven't been burned out yet, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
It's like doing it for a really long time, like figuring out ways of doing it better, more efficiently, and like, you know, not having these periods of distraction and like falling off and like trying to get back on and all that shit. Like that's whenever it starts to get really challenging. But honestly, it is super rewarding. It's better than 99.9% of other jobs. But
oh no, that's the thing. Is like you can't get mad when you help people. You know, as long as we're doing a good job, which I know both of us do as coaches, that with our businesses, and yeah, it's like it's all good because people are going to see results. At the end of the day, that's a big. It's so rewarding when people are like happy with what you're doing. Because a lot of people that are working, they're doing stuff that they almost feel like they're like a gimmick. Like, oh, I'm just trying to sell something that doesn't work or this, that, or the other. No, like this is health and fitness. It's a beautiful thing.
I'm right on board with that. And I actually think that's a great place for us to call it and wrap this up. Man, I appreciate you doing this with me. I know that you have a hard cutoff here coming up, so you can go take 5:30. But before we head out, like, do you want to give everyone just where they can find you, just like plug some of your socials and like your YouTube and all that?
Yeah, cool. So my biggest platform is Instagram. It's just my name, Stefan _Rivera-Clack. And then on YouTube, I actually don't even know my YouTube. I think it's just my name. I think it's Click Clack because that was my nickname back in high school. So I think it's Stefan Rivera-Clack. But you can find everything through Instagram. That's the biggest thing.
Dope. No, awesome, man. That sounds great. Again, really appreciate you doing this. And
of course, thanks for having me on.
Definitely have to do it some other time.
Yeah, we got to link up, get another workout in.
For sure.